Welcome, Black.
Welcome, Black. You are listening to the Seedz of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast,
where we discuss legacy, history, resistance, and forward movement. The revolution is live.
Hey, y'all. Hey, sisters. Why y'all laugh so much?
That's what
y'all need to be more serious around here.
Nope, never.
And then y'all be looking at me. Y'all have done this since I was a child. Y'all look at me expecting that I'm going to make a joke or something.
Because you will.
I wasn't though. Yeah. And that's the thing. When you do it, then I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me get them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You know. Yeah. So what's going on?
Oh, man. Life.
Yeah.
Life is lifing.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, that's what's happening.
Collective deep breath. Yes, I love doing those.
Yes.
I actually did that in the faculty meeting at work.
Oh, yeah.
It was needed.
Yeah, you got to get ready.
It was needed. I said, come on, y'all.
You're ready to deal with
let's
everything that's coming.
And you got to do it. Like, you got to pause. You got to take care of yourself. You got to protect yourself. Because, like you said, lifing and energies will just take you in all these different directions. And I think a deep breath is like, oh, no.
Right.
Yes.
It's
calms you back down.
Reclaiming my space. Reclaiming my
exactly.
energy. Reclaiming my time.
Yeah. Just like you said,
Reclaiming
taking
my
that
space
moment.
and
Soul, we say it so much to the girls that Soul starts to say it now. Like, if she sees, so for the listening audience, my youngest is 2 and my oldest is 6. So my 2-year-old, when she sees my 6-year-old like getting upset, she's like, take a deep breath. And she does it. Like, she listens to it like, okay. Yeah. And they do it. So I love it.
Right.
Well, I guess I'm doing something right.
Good.
Yeah.
If they just take deep breaths for the rest of their life, you know, that'll be good.
That's a start.
You did your job.
Everything comes from a deep breath.
Train up a child.
You can, you know.
Got it.
Yes.
That's right.
So this episode is actually part 1 of a two-parter,
Yes.
where we discuss our relationship to the whirlwind. Are we in it, you know, or of it, you know, or both, right? Both. Can it be both?
Yeah,
surely can.
And then how did it make its way to the name of our podcast? That's the, you know, what we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
But let's start with like defining whirlwind. I know we talked about it a little bit season 1, but like how would you all define whirlwind? It's even a part of our Power 5. We ask folks. Yeah. When you think of it.
Our family.
Yeah. I kind of feel like we kind of like own the word in a way.
In a way.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like that
as soon
too.
as I hear
it's always been a part of.
It takes me back to.
It's always been a part of our lives. Like, whirlwind.
Yeah.
Like every time I hear the word, my first thought is Whirlwind, the song, and Mommy singing it. You know, and now of course you and Amma singing it, and it just takes me back to those different moments of hearing her voice, and then seeing how it's even the way you all, you know, the two of you have sung it and put your own spin on it. It's like, wow, this is the whirlwind
and the lyrics
the song.
of the
song.
song.
My God,
powerful.
So
I even thought about that too. I was like, should we go
Yeah.
lyric for lyric, breaking that down?
Right.
It's serious.
But we'll definitely upload the song. Actually, we can have both Mommy's rendition
and you and Alma's.
and me and Alma's.
Yep. And the words.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're talking about Look for Me in the Whirlwind, which is a song that our father wrote, Mdaiyah Sunni-Ali. And then you hear a snippet of it as our closing every episode.
Yes.
Look for me.
That's our mama.
Yeah. It's Mama Falani.
Yep. But yeah.
So Whirlwind, you know, of course I did my little, you know,
Yes.
professor thing. And so, so like in terms of a definition, we know that it's used in metaphors, similes, etc., to describe a very energetic or tumultuous time or a person even or a process that you might go through. Metaphorically, you know, it's a situation in which a lot of things are happening very quickly. And you can't really seem to, you know, kind of ground yourself, as we were saying earlier, take that deep breath, something that you can't really get control of. As many of us know, but for those of you who don't, it's used a lot in like Black Power movement circles, as we were saying earlier. Like, we almost feel like we have some kind of
ownership
or like affinity or relationship, definitely a personal relationship to the word. But it's also used in everyday conversation, like where folks are like, oh yeah, it was a whirlwind of, you know, events or whatever for this weekend or whatever. It was most widely popularized, I know folks were using it before, the Honorable Messiah Marcus Garvey, but it was widely popularized when he used it in a speech of his. And for those of you who don't know, Marcus Garvey was a Pan-Africanist, founder of the UNIA, United Negro Improvement Association, as well as the African Communities League. Back to Africa movement.
So many.
Marcus Garvey was
an
a mighty
abolitionist.
black man. Marcus Garvey had a master plan. He said, oh my people, let's get up and go. Oh my people, let's go, go, go. Back to the ancient glory lands. Back to the place where black was grand. Back to Africa, back to Africa, back to Africa.
I almost kept going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it was, you know, him using it, Look for Me in the Whirlwind. It's also the name of a documentary.
And then Tupac
About his life.
Yep.
Yes. Lost in the Whirlwind. Yeah.
Look
So
for
it's
me.
yes. Yes.
Yep.
And so Princess Mdaiyah, I'm gonna put you
So
on
it
the
does
spot.
belong to us.
It does belong to us. Because it aptly describes, our experiences,
Yes.
our lived experiences.
Because if you notice, that's one thing Daddy always says. The one thing they would say to each other when they would go on the run or have to go on the ground was, look for me in the whirlwind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a look physically, but look for me, like listen to what the movements are going to be
Feel
done.
for me.
The spirit of the
All
whirlwind.
of that.
So,
Oh, I see what you did there.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Spirit.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
They, my father's name was Spirit. That's
Yes.
one of his stage names as a musician.
Yes. So
And
So, yes.
and other things.
So talk about how Daughters of the Whirlwind became the name of our podcast.
wow.
How did that happen?
Well, a few years ago, I had the idea. Well, I still have the idea, and I'm still working on it. Writing my book, Daughter of the Whirlwind, and so I was like, okay, that's a good name. I could do that, and I chose it because I'm like, I am a daughter of the whirlwind. I am a daughter of this, not just like we say in the world. In what's going on, but of the whirlwind, of the movement that we were raised in. And then, like we said, it was commonly used growing up. We heard it so much, whether it was in song or speech or just the greeting that we would hear. And so I was like, okay, I like it. I could use it. And so when my sisters approached me about a podcast, and we just, was like, okay, what are we going to call it? And I was like, well, I'm doing my book, but we can just say Daughters of the Whirlwind. No, I think my book is Daughter in the Whirlwind. Yeah. But the name, we just switched up a couple of words and we said Daughters of the Whirlwind, so that we could still keep the, significance of the book, but still connect it to what we're doing together. Yeah. Because
now you got to trademark it. Yes. Because you didn't put it out there.
Yeah. So
it's trademarked already.
Yeah, it is. Because we talked about that last season.
Yes.
So we decided together after I, gave them what I was working on. We just decided, hey, we'll go with that because it fits each and every one of us. Absolutely. It wasn't something that I felt I owned. It just was a title that I came up with, which ultimately, I believe through the Creator, it was what was meant for us to use anyway. So, Daughters of the Whirlwind.
And here we are.
And here we are.
And it doesn't stop with us three, just so.
I was going to say that too.
It doesn't
right?
stop with. We have sisters, we have cousins, we have aunts, sheroes.
Like our first guest, you know, on the first episode, our first guest of this season, you know,
is the daughter of the Whirlwind. Her father, our grandfather, was a revolutionary. So
and similar to Seedz of Revolution, right? Which is also a part of the title. But they both, you know, encompass not just us, but like our comrades, our community, our, you know, our extended family.
Right.
So we're telling the stories. Right. There's a book entitled "When and When I Enter," when and where I enter. You know, the whole race enters with me. And I believe that that's true for us. Like when and where we enter, all of the Seedz of Revolution, all of the daughters and the sons and the people of the Whirlwind, you know, enter with us. And as we share our stories, we're, you know, sharing the stories of so many folks who have these experiences.
And it's just a breath. It's a breath of fresh air. When the Whirlwind it encompasses so much.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, for us, it's just an everyday word. But I also, when I think about it too, I also always imagine tornado. Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that is the literal definition of it, right?
And it, in so many ways, it describes our lives, you know? Because a tornado has its moment where it's really calm, and then it has its moment where it's just destructive.
Yeah, as I say, the calm before the storm.
Right, and our lives had that. We had calm, we had storm, and we have calm, you know, and the storm comes in different ways. It comes through when life comes.
And we have calm within the storm.
Yeah.
Storms within the calm.
Right. You know? So, you know, it's definitely, we should be in the book when it describes the definition of whirlwind. It should be our pictures.
Put me in the wiki. You know? Put me on the wiki page. Yeah. Yeah, I think me and you had a conversation before, and that's what kind of even sparked us talking about it this episode. I don't know what we were saying, but I remember saying like, yeah, are we of the whirlwind or are we in the whirlwind? Because you know how folks, you know, like church going folks will use it, you know, as like, don't be in the world, but of the world.
Right.
And when I started thinking about it in that way, I was like, wait, you know, because obviously that means like, yes, you are, you know, in the world, but don't be so caught up in the world.
Right, yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, am I
we've been caught up in the whirlwind,
which brought me to
so
it's both.
Yeah,
you know,
for
it's
us,
certainly
definitely.
both.
Yeah, and it's nothing to. And I think we have to realize that people say stuff like that, but we got to think about what is it for you to be of it or in it. You know, because everybody, it's not going to fit everybody. And it's not just the word whirlwind, but it's anything, you know. But specifically because we're talking about whirlwind, what is it for us to even say that we are of it and in it? You know what I mean? Like Aiyisha just said, like, we are everything in it because we done been through everything that it means. You know what I mean? Like, everything. Some things are just undescribable, what we've been through. But the fact that I would say are of it is because we were able to climb out of it in different ways and use the tumultuous times, the storms, to carry us, to strengthen us. We didn't allow those times to be like, oh man, this happened to me, so now we're weak and feeble. It actually strengthened us and made us stronger in so many ways. I was telling the story to my community family, how one part of being in the whirlwind was the training, and how our grandfather, Elijah Balola, the general, he would get us up on school days.
Oh yeah.
Before school, we had to be at the bus
stop. It didn't matter what was going on.
We had to be at the bus stop like 7:20, I think.
He
would get us up at like 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. some days.
Yeah.
And we had to be downstairs, fully
Put your
dressed.
feet on the floor.
Yeah, that was that day. It wasn't no good morning.
Yeah, not good morning, not free to land.
Right, put your feet on the floor.
Put your feet on the floor.
And that meant you sit up, put your feet on the floor, get up. That meant you have 5 minutes to wash up, brush your teeth, get fully dressed, ready for training. And that meant sneakers tied and whatever you was going to run in, because we had to run a mile, we had to do hand-to-hand combat, and we had to meet him.
So he got
in
soft
front
by
of
the time he got to y'all. Y'all
But
had to do a
we
mile.
had to meet him in front of the house and push up position. And then if you came down crying, he would tease you.
Oh, I feel like somebody taking shots right now.
Oh no, I'm not. He teased all of. He would.
Remember, he would say, because I'd be like, "But I'm sad," and he was like, "Oh, Taywat's crying, wipe her eyes for her."
He did not.
And I was like, "Oh, hurt you."
Yeah, Elijah didn't give no type
rough.
of credence to whatever age he was. He didn't care. He was like, "We're getting ready,
didn't matter.
and it's training time." And then at by 7:20, we better have been catching that bus.
Oh yeah, go get dressed.
Go get dressed. We were back
And
in the
he
house.
would allow us to have, I remember, like a piece of fruit and like some water.
Right. Yeah.
Because I would always be like, "But I'm hungry, or I'm weak, or I don't feel strong enough." Have a piece of fruit,
Right.
and some
And
water.
some water. Yeah.
And hey, things stick with you.
Yeah,
because
that's what
now
we
in
do
the
now.
mornings when I go take a walk or whatever, that's all
what you
I don't
have.
really. First of all, I don't really eat a lot of
Breakfast.
food in the morning
Yeah.
anyway. It's always like fruits or
And
water
water.
or tea.
Yeah. Yep.
And so now, before I go, I don't want no heavy stomach when I'm working out.
And he knew
Yeah.
that we didn't need it. I mean, because he was trained.
Right.
But he knew that this was how we needed to be trained.
Yes.
And so when I brought that up to say, like, yes, so we were in the whirlwind. And we of the whirlwind because that's how we were raised to be ready for whatever. Because if somebody came in at that moment and said, you got to go run a mile, and we couldn't do it, then what would have happened? But he made sure we were going to be able to run that mile.
The enemy's here.
Right.
Put those chains on the door. We got to run 1 mile to the local.
Exactly. Wherever we had to go.
It was so many scenarios that I had in my head.
Right.
For like, let me be prepared for the revolution.
Yes.
When the revolution comes.
When the revolution comes.
Yes.
When the revolution comes.
And we can't be scared. We
No.
can't be,
Right.
I was going to say the word, but we can't be scared of the revolution. We got to be ready.
Ready.
I love that
At
you
all
said that, though,
times.
that we were in it. And that's why, they were rearing us to continue to be in it. And we are still in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We are still in it. The
We are.
whirlwind is still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The whirlwind is still here.
Yep. So there's a book that our Uncle Sekou and our Baba Bilal are in and actually help with the writing of it. And it's called Look for Me in the Whirlwind. And we're going to put the link in it, but you can definitely purchase it on Amazon. And also you can reach out to our Baba Bilal because he has them always on deck ready to
Yes.
ship them out.
He
to
got them in his
whoever.
pocket.
Right. He'd be like, where's that box of books?
He keep them
Put it in your
books
trunk. I'd be like, okay.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Listen, I was selling them at work one time. Because they were like, your father's coming. And
Right.
yeah,
Where's that book?
he always has it.
Yes.
But it's important.
Yes.
It's an important text.
Yeah.
I've certainly read it. And I encourage, especially younger generations, because that's what it really talks about too, like how younger generations can take up the mantle, in their own ways. And, and there's a lot of stressing of knowing the history too, because we're all entering into something, that's been ongoing,
Right.
like we shouted out Marcus Garvey earlier, like this is just a protracted struggle, a long movement, that we're all a part of. And so it is important for you to, understand your history, especially your immediate history.
Yeah.
1960s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
That's just around
That's
the
just
corner.
around the-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look back,
we
it's
were
right there.
Well, not all of us. Some of us were alive.
Yes,
in the
I was
60s.
alive in the 60s.
Some of
Yes,
us
I
were
was.
alive in the 70s. Some of
Yeah,
us,
a couple
were
of us.
alive in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, all of us were alive.
Yeah, all of us were alive.
Well,
in
some
the
of
80s.
us came to be.
came to be.
Came to be in the
You know?
80s.
So yeah. And those were prevalent times for our people, and that's something that we have to remember. Like you said, it was just if we look over our shoulder, it's still right there.
It is there.
It's right there.
Yeah, a lot of history was made. And that's a part of why Daughters of the Whirlwind is so important too, because a lot of the history was made, and as we've said, there's a lot of revisionist history.
Oh yeah.
That's not just, and that's not a new thing necessarily. And so it's important that we, hear from grassroots folks. No knock to, researchers and scholars. I'm one of them.
Right.
But we also have to hear from the people who were,
In
doing
their
the work,
time.
engaged in the work, and not just those who, have studied it. Both are important, for us to research and understand.
Yes, definitely.
Big share.
Yeah, you can just say it. I mean, at this point.
So, but yeah, I encourage everybody to research what we are saying, the names that we dropped today, because they're important. And even, we talked about Marcus Garvey, because growing up, he was like a hero that was always spoken of in our house. Remember that big
I was just gonna say, not just spoken,
we had
seen.
of him.
Yeah,
him and
it was
Malcolm
a mural.
X.
Yeah.
And so, like we sang that song.
And when we
earlier.
say big, y'all,
Right.
it was like 10 feet.
Yeah.
10 feet tall.
And it was framed.
And maybe, at least 5 feet
Wide. Yes.
It was big.
And it was framed.
It was big.
And that was something that we
to wake
grew
up and
to,
see that every day.
Yeah. It was like, okay, we know who Marcus Garvey is, and it showed us how important he was.
Wrote a song about it.
Right. Here you go. No, but we sang it earlier, and that's something that we grew up doing. Like we talked about it on previous episodes, singing about our heroes and sheroes. But I brought up Marcus Garvey because there's still Garveyites. Garvey-outs.
Yeah, they out. The Garveys is out.
They outside.
There's still Garveyites that are still here living and speaking and representing, carrying on his legacy. And so, we give salute to them.
And his children.
And
I mean, his son in particular,
Right.
I know, lives on the continent.
Yeah.
And shares, his experiences, repatriation.
And that's a seed of a revolution.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah. So I wanted to share. I did look up, what is it to be in something and of something, right?
Drop the research.
So in is like, pertains to a location or a position within, a particular thing inside of something, and of shows belonging, possession, or origin.
Yeah.
And so, as we were saying, yes, that is our origin. This very tumultuous time, this whirlwind, especially when I think of my own, I know we all have our own experiences,
Yes,
but to be
yours,
born, not born, let me back up, to be conceived
During that.
Underground, where my parents ain't even supposed to be seeing each other.
Right.
And they found a way. Well, they had a will.
There was a way.
And so therefore there was a way, and they made a way. But to be conceived, underground.
Right.
And then,
Carried through that process.
Yeah, to be carried, for 9 months. Also underground and actively on the run.
Yeah. And in prison.
I was going to
And in prison.
Incarcerated.
And I mean, basically, having to have petitions, submitted by doctors and lawyers and community people, rallies, in order for mommy to give birth, outside of the jail.
Yeah. And stay with you for a while.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then the story, and then that story continued. More whirlwind. Her, being taken when I was 4 months old. Just shortly after. So certainly because I've sat with this question too of like, okay, where am I? Where are we within this? And it's certainly a part of the origin. But then, in relating it back to what we were saying, like, I don't know that I want it to be something that I hold so tightly that it's my only identity. Because like you were saying earlier, like oftentimes it becomes your identity and it can become a crutch, in so many ways. And, and I'll be vulnerable here and just open and transparent in saying that in a lot of ways when I have begun, various healing processes and thinking about just my demeanor, my personality, how I carry myself, I find that a lot of it links directly back to that. When I sit and peel back the layers and keep asking the questions. And in some ways, it has served me very well in life. You know, it's protected me. It's allowed me to walk through certain doors. It's given me confidence.
Right.
And then in other ways, I have this protected shield
Yeah.
in times and spaces where I don't need one.
Yeah.
You know, so in that regard,
find that.
it can be a hindrance.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
so I'm happy that we're talking about this, because I think it is important to make that distinction, even for our listeners too.
Yes.
You know, for you, it may not be whirlwind, or
Right.
it may not be whirlwind in the sense that we're talking about
Right.
it. But, you know, what is it to be of something and in something?
Yeah.
And when do you, you know, decide that, okay, I'm of this,
Right.
you know, and I'm still in it, you know, but I have these other aspects of myself that I want
Right.
to explore and that deserve to live also.
Yeah.
You know, that deserve to live. So
I think as I've gotten older, I don't cling to it as much as I did. But yeah, I mean, you can feel certain, you know, sometimes, and even now, certain situations or around certain people, I do, you know, find myself clinging to that. But I mean, it's just a part of who we are.
Yeah.
And I think it's just how you choose to,
Utilize it.
yeah, definitely. Definitely.
and it starts with thinking critically about it.
Oh, definitely.
Because if
Absolutely.
you're not thinking critically about it and like unpacking, you know, all of the various meanings, then you can't pick and choose,
Right.
Because it's just
It's
running.
just gonna
you.
take-
It's
yep.
choosing you. You know, and that really is what it means to be in a whirlwind, where you're just like, I don't even
You're just
know.
going around, yeah.
Yeah. And so many of our people are in that.
Yeah.
You know, even within the movement.
Yeah.
And certainly outside of it.
Yeah.
But even within the movement.
And we've
so.
seen it, yeah. Because a lot of it, you know, just being, like you said, transparent, being in that movement, growing up in it, it has left some of us, you know, confused and just in a chaotic state, because so much happened without the
Just ready.
yeah. So right, ready, or even just like, what do I do with this? What do I do with all of this that was given to me?
Right.
Because they said this was going to happen, but this didn't happen.
Right.
So
or it's
now-
happening, but it's happening in a different way.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, what's next? And then we have some of our family members, because even sometimes for me, I'm like, okay, so they said this, but this isn't how this is happening. But now I find myself fighting it in this way. So, okay, so what do I need to, what was left on the table? What do I take from that table, and how do I use it for this particular battle or this particular, victory? How do I?
What are the tools here?
Yeah.
Right.
And then now what do I use this one for? Especially, and right now, it's so pivotal, these questions, because when we look right now, a lot of our heroes and sheroes have gone on, So we don't have them to sit and say, okay, mommy or auntie, uncle, you said this. This is happening, though, this way. So how do I maneuver?
What I do now? Yeah.
And even though we still have some, we have different lessons from different ones of us. Like on the interview we did recently, you talked about Uncle Kwame and how he would sit with us and have those cub talks where we could just say whatever we wanted about how we grew up, how it made us feel. Then once he was gone, we didn't have those talks no more. Nobody did his job. Nobody picked it up. And so,
but I think
in that way,
I was going to say, I think it's happened in different ways.
In that way.
And it's just in recognizing what each of them have given us, what they leave. And even when things are happening differently than what they may have said or the way you thought it would happen, they were still preparing us for it happening.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just, and that's one of the things that, I'm thankful for, is that even throughout, all of the tumultuous times and the times when we were tried, I was always prepared.
Right.
And that was because of what they did and what they said and the training, you know, and that's not just physical training, mental. And the education.
That's what I was going to say earlier, the hand-eye coordination.
Educational training, you know, the reading of these books that we were told to read and do essays on. Because not only were we told to read books, we had to write book reports.
Do a book report.
And we had to memorize so many things. We had to memorize the creed. We had to memorize the memorize.
But we know it to this day.
And who they
like
the pledge.
So it's you'll never forget it.
Like as soon as you hear the first word, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Right.
Stand up in attention.
Attention.
Salute.
Yeah. You know? But I love what you said, Aiyisha, about the fact that we had a certain image in our head of what the revolution was going to be or what, you know, different aspects of the whirlwind was, because they didn't necessarily describe things. Right. They just said like, okay, when the enemy comes or when this happens or when this happens. And like when I really think about it, I'm so grateful because it really is applicable to so many situations, like you just said, and so we're always prepared because we're always just like, okay, is this the enemy? Is that the enemy? Is it okay? Is this the time? All right. And so I think we go, like I was saying earlier, like we go in ready. You know, coming in peace. Was Punzico come in peace, but ready to defend myself? Exactly. You know, and that may not be the the stance to have in every situation. Right. But in most of them,
it's necessary.
It is. Yeah, as black people, as black women in this world, yes.
Yeah. And one thing I realized too was they didn't always tell us our enemy was a certain color.
Oh no!
And I think people confuse that with revolutionaries. They think your parents taught you to hate this.
We never had the white man talking in the house. The white man that wasn't in our house.
Because the enemy comes in all shapes and colors. I tell people all the time, a brother wearing
and sizes
don't mean
and sizes
don't mean
and ages and all.
You know, it's a costume for some people.
Yeah. I'll never forget, and I won't call their name, but I'm gonna say it. There was someone in high school that I went to high school with who told me that he was an agent. You know, maybe I don't know. Could have been
you in high school.
Yeah, we were in English class. We were in English class, and he could have just been saying it just to mess with me, just to F with me.
But you never know,
because he knew some of my story. But at that time, I wasn't sharing a whole lot of information. It may have been something as surface as, my parents, members of the Black Panther Party or something like that. And then because this person was intelligent, it was like, I
know what that.
And but I believed them though. I believed them, and I was like, okay,
you have to.
I got you. And then last week I was coming out of a meeting in Sparta, Georgia, and me and the sister.
Don't be telling all your business.
Okay. Me and the sister is out there talking, and this guy comes up and shakes our hand. He's like, ask me my name. I tell him my name. She told him his name. I said, okay, your name. And then I notice he has a badge on, but he's like, not like representing the badge. So, and it's the badge is hanging, but the words are kind of small. So he's talking to her, and I'm like, zoned in because I'm like, who is this guy and why does he make it a point to come over here while we're talking?
Yeah.
The badge said counterintelligence agent.
I
said, okay. So then he's leaving. I said, okay, you're with the CIA? He says, oh, you read that? I said, indeed. He said, oh, you're very observant. I said, oh, I'm very.
I mean,
I said, it's on your you have a badge. He said, yeah, but it's.
But hey, he's right. Yeah. Most people would not even read it.
Right. And he said, oh. And then he went to turn it over so you couldn't see it anymore. He said, well, I'm not a field agent, and walked away. And I just said, okay, but you're
in the field.
But you're in the field.
Yeah. Right. So, that's those key things that I remember. Mommy and Dad.
Always paying attention to detail.
And don't allow people to interview you. That's one thing that actually came up recently because I was actually telling Amma, Princess Mdaiyah's daughter, and I was telling her when people are asking you a lot of questions, that's pay attention to that. And Mommy would always say, ask them back. Somebody asks you a question, just go, have the dance.
Right.
Go ahead and dance.
What you writing a book?
When people ask you questions, I'm asking you right back.
Right. Yeah. Because that's the key too. Because you don't want people to have so much on you, and you have no idea who they are.
Right.
You know, and that's one of the things. Even the sister that was standing by me when he said it, he said, "Oh yeah, she's very observant." And you know, and I've seen him around every night, and I watch him, and I'm like, okay, you know, it's cool. But it was like, I'm not taking you as a threat. I just want you to know.
Yeah.
Like, you can introduce yourself fully. I'm not here to, if that's what your badge says, then that's what your badge says, you know. But it's the key. That's one of those tools that's on the table that we have to pick up. And we can't allow other people to even make us feel intimidated by acknowledging it. Because that's he was just like, oh. And I said, yeah, I am. Because I want him to understand, you're not going to deter me now from... Because I said it. I wasn't said to call you out. It was just said to say,
right.
That's
yeah,
we
don't have a problem.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm just stating the obvious.
The facts.
Like what I observed. I made an observation.
Because you could have had on a red shirt. Nice red shirt.
Yeah.
You would have been like, oh, you observe it? Yeah, it's a red shirt.
Yeah.
It was a badge. So, you know, those key things and just paying attention to all of our surroundings.
All your surroundings, people around you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So... Yeah, so in closing, I want to share, and I welcome you all to share, a lesson, I guess, like your greatest lesson being a daughter of the whirlwind. I think we already kind of covered some of them.
Some of them.
We did.
Without saying it,
Well, so many lessons. But one that comes to mind is that people are not always going to understand who we are and what it means to be a daughter of the whirlwind or a child of the whirlwind. They're not going to. I think over the last few years, 10 years or so, you know, as people are more comfortable talking and speaking, there's stories that my high school friends didn't know about my life, you know, about our life, you know, what we went through, you know, why I wasn't in 10th grade with everybody, you know, and moved back to New York because they just thought, oh, she's moving back home. I couldn't tell them, you know. It was like 3 people that knew, you know. And so when I, you know, talking about things now, when they see things on Facebook or Instagram, they're like, wow. All that was happening, we had no idea. It's like, because we couldn't talk about it.
Right. Yeah.
So, I think it's that people, although we lived through it and, you know, we've been through it and we've talked about it amongst ourselves, you know, and our family, you know, in our community, in our circle, when you talk about it outside of that to people who you're close to as well, it's like, it's happening all over again because they had no idea. So I think that's probably the biggest lesson of that. And, you know, and then there's always the lesson of the people who gonna try you, like that agent who tried you. That had happened a few times. You know, the agents came. And then the people who protected me, you know, from that. You know, along with, I mean, you know, stood up for myself, but there were people who stepped in when they needed to step in. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good question. I think it's just being who I am today has made me really appreciate being a daughter of the whirlwind, being able to just in truth, like get up, walk out of my dwelling and step on land that's freed every day. To be able to hold the title that I have. You know, people be like, oh, princess this, but I'm like, the title for me is the work that I do. But I know that because I have this title that the Creator saw fit to be able to allow me to have this because of the work I've done and the work I continue to do. And I know that it came because of how we grew up. you know. And so I'm just proud of that I'm able to live it and continue the legacies of our heroes and sheroes, of our uncles and aunts who lived a good majority of their life behind the bars, and some who were on the run, and all of them who continue to fight this fight in different ways. You know, and that's one thing I said the other day. I said, my father is 75. Yeah, he's not out there in walking the block like, you know, when he was in his 20s.
Sometimes he is.
No, but I'm saying not in the same
Depending on what block he talking about.
But he's still doing the work. You know what I mean? On so many, his block
he
now
is
Zoom.
I was about to say, he on these Zoom blocks.
He be on these Zoom blocks, you know?
Without fail.
Yeah, and just to be able to continue to witness that, I think, is a blessing. So, you know, grateful for that. Grateful for that.
For sure. So I resonate so hard with so much of what y'all said. I would say the greatest lesson is just like discipline, like self-discipline and self-awareness, and independence. Yeah. Because one of the things I find, you know, again on, you know, healing, I'm on a healing journey, okay? But on that journey, stop laughing. Don't laugh at my healing journey.
Oh, Lord.
But yeah, on that journey, it calls for so much of, it calls for strength, lots of strength, and endurance and discipline, you know, to actually change and to change habits and to look deep within yourself and to uncover and unravel. And I know that growing up the way that I did as a daughter of the Whirlwind and still being a daughter of the Whirlwind has given me, you know, to use the word that you used earlier, those tools, you know, of survival, you know, and most importantly though, because I'm not trying to survive no more. And so much of the Whirlwind life has been about how do we just survive this? You know, and now it's like, oh no, I want to live, I want to heal, I want to know me, I want all parts of me, you know, to live and to breathe. Absolutely. So that would be mine.
Okay.
Yes. So this is such a rich conversation.
It is.
So rich that we got a part two that we'll, you know, talk about on the next episode. So
thank you so much for tuning in. You have been listening to the Seeds of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast. Be blessed.
Be blessed.
Look for me in the whirlwind.
Hey, revolutionaries. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Seeds of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast. To join the family, like, subscribe, and share with who you think should be a part of the fam. Comment if y'all want us to cover specific topics or if you have questions. Peace.